Ever wondered how the Soviet Union became a tank superpower? From humble beginnings to world-dominating behemoths, the story of Soviet tanks is a wild ride of innovation, desperation, and sheer industrial might. Let's dive into the history of these iron giants. Our story starts right after the Russian Revolution. The new Red Army had a messy collection of captured foreign tanks like British Mark Vs and French Renault FTs. Inspired by the Little Renault, the Soviets created their first mass-produced tank, the T-18, also known as the MS-1. It was small, lightly armed, and a bit clumsy, but it was a crucial first step. It taught Soviet engineers how to build tanks from scratch. The 1930s were the real game changer. The Soviets went on a shopping spree, buying advanced tank designs from Britain and the United States. They purchased the Vickers 6-ton and Walter Christie's revolutionary M19-8 tank. But they didn't just copy them, they innovated. The Vickers became the basis for the T-26, a light tank produced in staggering numbers, over 11,000 of them. It became the workhorse of the Red Army in the early 30s. But the real star was Christie's design. His suspension system, which allowed for high speeds both on tracks and on wheels, was pure genius. The Soviets adopted it for their BT series of fast tanks, which stood for Bystrokhny tank, or high-speed tank. These BT tanks could zoom across the battlefield at incredible speeds, embodying the new Soviet doctrine of deep battle, using fast-moving armored columns to punch through enemy lines and cause chaos deep in their rear. The BT-2, BT-5, and especially the BT-7 were the sports cars of the tank world back then. But the world was changing, and the Spanish Civil War showed that light tanks were becoming vulnerable. Soviet designers knew they needed something tougher, with better armor and a bigger gun. This led to one of the most legendary tanks in history, the T-34. When the T-34 rolled onto the scene in 1940, it was a shock to everyone. It had a powerful 76mm gun, thick, well-sloped armor that could bounce enemy shells, and it used the Christie suspension, making it fast and mobile. Its wide tracks were perfect for handling the mud and snow of the Eastern Front. When Nazi Germany invaded the Soviet Union in 1941, German soldiers were stunned by the T-34's effectiveness. It was superior to almost everything they had. The T-34 wasn't perfected, had a cramped two-man turret and poor visibility, but its combination of firepower, protection, and mobility was revolutionary. The Soviets built over 84,000 T-34s, making it the most produced tank of World War II. It was a war-winning weapon, pure and simple. Alongside the T-34, the Soviets also developed their heavy tank line. The multi-turreted behemoths of the 1930s, like the T-28 and T-35, proved to be clumsy failures. They were replaced by the Kliman-Voroshilov, or KV, series. The KV-1 was a monster, heavily armored and almost immune to German anti-tank guns in 1941. It was slow and mechanically unreliable, but its sheer toughness earned it the nickname Russian Colossus from the Germans. As the war progressed, German tanks like the Tiger and Panther appeared, challenging Soviet dominance. The answer was to upgrade. The T-34 was given a bigger turret and a more powerful 85mm gun. The heavy tank line also evolved. The KV series led to the IS series, named after Joseph Stalin himself, Iosif Stalin. The IS-2, armed with a massive 122mm gun, was a true beast. It wasn't designed to fight other tanks, but to smash fortified positions and bunkers. Its high explosive shell could obliterate buildings and infantry, making it a terrifying breakthrough tank for the final push into Berlin. After the war, the lessons learned were poured into the next generation. The Soviet Union needed a single, universal tank to replace all the different types. This led to the T-54 and T-55 series. First appearing in the late 1940s, this tank family became the most produced tank in all of history. We're talking over 100,000 units built by various countries. It was simple, rugged, reliable, and had a powerful 100mm gun. It defined the main battle tank concept for the Soviets. The T-55 was everywhere, from the streets of Budapest in 1956 to the jungles of Vietnam and the deserts of the Middle East. It became the symbol of Soviet military influence across the globe. But the West was catching up, with tanks like the British Centurion and American M60 Patton. The arms race continued. The Soviet response in the 1960s was the T-62, which introduced the world's first smoothbore tank gun, firing fence-stabilized projectiles at incredible velocities. It was an incremental upgrade, but it kept the pressure on. The real leap forward came with the T-64. This tank was a technological marvel for its time. introducing composite armor, an autoloader that reduced the crew to 3, and a compact, powerful engine. It was a high-tech, elite tank, but it was also complex and expensive. So, the Soviets developed a parallel designs, a simpler, cheaper mobilization tank, the T-72, and a command version, the T-80. The T-72 became the new face of the Soviet Army and was exported widely. It was a cost-effective, powerful tank that continued the legacy of the T-55. The T-80, introduced in the late 1970s, was something else entirely. It was the first production tank in the world to be powered by a gas turbine engine like a jet engine. This gave it incredible speed and mobility, earning it the nickname the Flying Tank. It was the premium tank, reserved for the best Soviet divisions poised to charge across Europe. The collapse of the Soviet Union in 1991 didn't end the story. Russia continued to develop these platforms. The T-72 was heavily upgraded into the T-90, which incorporated advanced features. From the T-80, like better armor and fire control systems, the T-90 became Russia's main export tank, a modern, capable machine that carries the DNA of its Soviet predecessors, from the first clumsy T-18 to the turbine-powered T-80 and modern T-90. The history of Soviet tanks is a story of evolution and adaptation. They were often designed for simplicity and mass production, built to be operated by conscript armies in the harshest conditions imaginable. They weren't always the most comfortable or technologically advanced, but they were tough, effective, and built in numbers that could overwhelm any opponent. Their legacy continues to rumble across battlefields all over the world today. Thanks for watching this deep dive into Soviet tank history. If you enjoyed this journey through steel and firepower, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more content. Let us know in the comments. Which tank is your favorite? See you in the next one.